Okay, hello, and welcome to the first of the, uh, day 4, I believe. I believe this is the starting one I've got here. I've just actually finished in my head today. I finished the final day, so I'm going back and I'm recording all of the audio for the days in between. You can hear my fan for my computer. That's it trying to watch this video. God, I wish I could animate this fast. Nice would that be? But what I can say is that this was a really good challenge. So I'm speaking at it from obviously the last day, uh, going back, and I really enjoyed it. So, but let's cast my mind back to 37 days ago, actually, which was, well, it doesn't count the weekend, so it's about 6 weeks ago. So this is all sped up. I think 4 or 5 times the current speed rate that's at. That's where we're at. And this was the unique animation for Mickey Mouse with his chopping wood animation. I actually really liked this one. I remember I didn't enjoy a lot of the Mickey Mouse ones just because I think because it was the first kind of week, I didn't really know what I was doing or the sort of scope to do it. But this day seemed like it actually had the right idea of scope. And my visual for this has actually does seem to be my computer at the moment's having a bit of a field day with this. So I'm trying to get the timing to match on my recording software and my viewing software. Which roughly that. But overall, I really enjoyed this one. I had really strong poses. I did a system of going for modular pieces because Mickey Mouse himself is very constructed of these sort of what do you call it, cylinders? No, what's the word? Circles. Because he's constructed. His basic geometry is always the same with the circular body, the pear-shaped kind of diameters. He does end up being the same kind of proportions all the time. So he works very well for this squash and stretch mentality. So I can see that here that I've gone for breaking it up, so things like the feet and the body and the head, every little circle has its own, is following its own path and going together, which is nice, but I think personally if I did this again, I work on these stronger images first and try and do that sort of pose to pose imagery first, and definitely I think, yeah, if I did it again, I'd do strong poses and then work out very good arcs. And I think I'd probably go from there. So overall, it looks like the basic kind of motion is getting down here with the snow. I'm gonna be honest, it looks a lot like Mickey Mouse now, but I know that when it's done, it doesn't overly end up great. Or it could be better. I don't know why. Something was lost in translation. Thing is, I heard that once about the line work to sketch, where a lot of people feel that line work doesn't match up to their kind of sketch work, and it's because the sort of field of what you feel and the energy that you're pushing into your animation or your drawing is not there. Okay. It's not the same energy that you have for this. So I'm currently drawing the stump, I believe. I'm all lined up with this, which I'm not. currently drawing the stump, and the brush that I use, which I can't remember which one it was, but the one on the bottom left of the section over there, the inking brush, and then so it's just under wet knife, and then just to the right of wet knife. Those are the two primary brushes I use throughout this whole animation workout because I primarily focus on them. I like what I'm doing here with the sort of bark, but ultimately, I think the approach in the future would be to get the basic volumes down with just the shapes and then work it in, because I don't feel like it stays with those coherence. It's a big issue with a lot of animators and myself is that they focus on the details first, and then things like the volumes get a bit lost in translation, and it all ends up being a bit flat. Yeah, to be honest, I probably could have done it, but also this is a challenge, so it's a bit hard to not to pace yourself, I guess would be the right word to use, because you just want to keep doing what's best and everything. I personally don't overly remember how this. Yes, I'm colouring it now with the bucket fill tool, which is fantastic in OpenToonz. Probably could add a bit more kind of squash and stretch to it overall. Who knows? Right. So now we're doing the inking and the line art, so you'll see that I've just kind of remained with that brush. I think I got distracted here or something. Sure. I am watching very closely to see kind of any mistakes I make. That one, a lot of the line work here, I make quite a bit of mistakes. I do like this brush. I'll show you using it. So I think the hands are a bit, looking back on it, I've gone for a bit too human of a hand. You know, it should be a lot more cartoonish, kind of glovish size with that bouncy kind of look to it. And the arms, definitely, definitely kind of come off as a bit too long and not tubular. Because you want that bouncy rubber hose effect of classic Mickey Mouse. Well, I guess since this is actually day 3, technically, but I don't mind sounding, I could probably cast my mind back to this. So I personally love the Fred Moore style of Mickey Mouse and the Uberworks style, that classic sort of brave little tailor. I think it's probably the best example of it, and I didn't quite capture that, but I think I probably could have gotten pretty close to it with the way it was kind of moving. I'd love to come back to this and actually try this Mickey Mouse again, see if I actually improved. I don't remember what the point of that was. It's sort of interesting just watching this, because the other sort of days of the week I'm animating whilst recording, so My mind's sort of half distracted by myself, but today it's just dialogue. I mean, it's quite fun. Or I am sort of looking, in horror of what I've created here. But that's pretty nice. I would say you do have a lot of frequent pauses in this thing. I think it's probably because of the messages that I've received from family or whatever, or I don't know, just daily. I mean, a lot of the times it's the bloody hallway outside the door. There's always somebody willing about. So I was trying to think about niche styles of animation the other day, and how I make myself more, how to create a sort of niche for myself. And I was thinking that I'm fairly competent in After Effects, so maybe I could do something with that. I like the way the face came out in that one. That's actually pretty nice. Let's see. So one of the things that's primarily focused on here. I seem to be doing again the modular approach of just like doing the cuff of the hand and areas like that, which is not a great sort of way of approaching it. To be honest, I believe the best way of approaching it, which now occurs to me, I'm kind of doing it here, is sort of big, medium, small approach. So what it is, you'll see it a lot in background art and things like that. If they're creating an image, they'll focus on the big features first, and then they'll make the small features, and then the little features. So if you're building a house, for example, or like you're doing an illustration of a house, you'll have the main drawing of the house right then and there, with the walls and the hut and things like that. And then you'll do the medium-sized things like, I don't know, the windows, the doors. That's another thing that's quite big. Trees, things like that. And then for the small, you do things like, I don't know, little like the door handle. You gradually get smaller. And the reason for that is because if your volumes are wrong in the big size, it doesn't matter how much you put in the medium or the little, it'll still look wrong. But I didn't really focus on that because I just kind of, I don't know, just wanted to animate, I guess. I will say this kind of gives me a bit of itchy and scratchy vibes. Sort of, well, not the way it's animated, but it's just I imagine them holding an axe. I need to find a better way to do this because currently I'm going through the animation and this editing style is not great for me. Not very intuitive. Just rotation of the axe. One of the things to look out for quick emotions is, well, I think one of the quick emotions is strong keyframes that are concave and convex. So what that means is, let's say you've got like, okay, a good example right here is if you look at Mickey's arms, they sort of go they follow a gentle slope, like his general arm line that I've created. It follows a sort of gentle slope. Whilst if you look at his leg, it'll be when he's squatted down, it'll be the other way around. So it's more of like a D without the front wall. They're going from a C to a D, lifting up. Capital D. And in faster motions, they just look more natural. It's that and smear frames. It's sort of creating 2D motion blur for an image. It's sort of a cheat, and it is a gimmick, but it works for those things. It doesn't mean they should be the norm. I think it's better if people find their own voice and create something that's more unique. But it is what it is. The thing is, sometimes it's a lot of animation. The thing I find with a lot of rules and it's not a good leg. That was just there. I think I find with a lot of these rules and things like that is they were done by people, I don't know, 50, 60 years ago, and the majority of people think that's the way it's been done, so that's the way it must be. Which is fine. Yeah, see, I've done the big, medium, small thing again. Well, now I'm just drawing the face, and I should be drawing the head, and then adding the face. Even if I drew the back of the head, you know, the primary function of the skull, that would have been better. Although I do feel like this point ended up alright, the sort of panting I did at the end, so I don't overly know. I believe I stopped using this brush later on because it doesn't fill well. Or I just forgot which one it was. I kind of got attached to two at the end of this. Yeah, so that's that. So I currently have to watch through and voice over. Well, 2 days a week's not that bad. So it's 2 days. I'm cutting down hours of footage into basically minutes. Like I believe this is in total. This is about 30 minutes, I think. And it's cut down to, well, no, when it was unedited, it was about, I don't know, how much was it? It was about 2 hours, I think, or 3 hours, maybe longer, maybe 4. So we're colouring in now, which is the primary thing. And this is my main love of OpenToonz right here, is the colouring in, because the bucket tool, it has none of that sort of uncoloured layer that you get in something like Photoshop. You can also change the colour at will, so I think maybe I changed that red, I'm not overly sure. But if I wanted to right now, I could load up this file and change every single colour in that, and it would be perfectly fine. And the beauty of that is if you're doing, you can animate a scene like, I don't know, let's say it was this scene of Mickey chopping wood. You can animate this scene like that, whatever you, and then the background department will come back to you and be like, actually, it's at night, could you add more of a blue tone to this? And you could very easily just change all of the colours into that sort of blue tone. So that's Smearframe from the axe dragging the adds impact. I think it was Art Babbitt who said never show the contact, show the aftermath, I believe. So what that means is if you've got a punch, or, yeah, let's go with a punch, because it's probably the most significant one. You don't show the frame when the person's fist is in the person's face, unless it's a comic. Maybe a lot. You show just before it's about to hit the face, just after, and the reaction is that, because that's more interesting. And also, your mind already fills in those details. So if you do it, it looks a bit more sluggish. Well, it needs to be like a bullet. You know, it's so fast that you don't even see it, but you know it happened. So we're coming up to 20 minutes now. I have to frequently do this. We're focusing on the axe part where I'm just erasing one side of it, and this is just so it looks like it goes through. A lot of extra detail I went through for this one. That was pretty nice. I have no idea why the color palette has 400 colors. It's all the same color over and over again. What's going on? Yes, and I've done Mickey's front. Smiley face that I put down. So I'm a little behind in the audio sync with this. Actually, I might be ahead. I think I might have the wrong part. Yeah, I do. Oops. So I was watching part 6. Alright, well that was my bad. Alright, so we're still doing the line work. Alright, ignore the colouring and everything I just said. I'll bring it up later. So we're doing the line work still. It's called the Klinger. It's always one of the most laborious and long parts of an animation. It's very needed because you want those nice clean lines. I redraw every frame, and to be honest, if you're wanting a much cleaner look, I'd recommend copying and pasting a lot of stuff. Things like, if it's just the arms moving, just copy the torso and the body and just redraw the arms. You know, not everything has to be redrawn necessarily. Oh, I messaged earlier. Yeah, so no, very nice. Yeah, so I like the Fred more and the early days of Disney, kind of Mickey Mouse style. I think that Mickey Mouse has always been a great character to animate. You know, he's got so much history to him, and everyone kind of knows what he's like, and things like that. But he's very open to interpretation, I would say. The when he was originally out, back when Walt Disney was the voice of him, he was very snarky, very getting into trouble, but being kind of a rapscallion sort of thing. And people loved that about him. They thought he was really had a lot of charm to him. And nowadays he's kind of I don't know what's the word. They sort of use him just to appeal to infants, but it's primarily because the audience is just not there anymore. You know, it's like the Looney Tunes stuff like that. People love the older stuff, but yeah, if it comes out nowadays, people would probably not really care. So what I was saying earlier about the volumes and things in it should have drawn me big, medium, small is very much in reference to his sort of head in these frames. In that it looks alright, but I'm very much like getting away from the skull because I was trying to do the details of the muzzle and the eyes and things like that, and it's sort of elongating the skull when it really shouldn't be. It should be moving with it. So I should focus on the bigs. What else can I talk about? Hmm. I believe the old way of drawing Mickey Mouse was it was like 2 nickels and a quarter or something like that. That was the expression, and it was because on the way they always drew him, like they always drew him at the same angle. It was always this sort of shot that you see here, like a wide shot. It was never a close up or anything like that. He, because of that, he was always the same distance away from the camera, which meant the proportions and the volumes were always the same. So for the ears and the head, and before they invented squash and stretch, and any sort of deformation in the skull, he was made using 2 quarters and a nickel, I think. I don't know American currency, so I don't overly know which is the right one. But basically, it used the 2 smaller things and then the 2 things, which is why you see the ears kind of rotating around the head, because obviously they couldn't put a quarter or a nickel under one another because it would look a bit off. So they did this, and that was the sort of situation. Yeah. And my screen's first. Yeah, so now we're in the colouring up phase, I believe. And yes, like I was saying before, this is what I genuinely love about OpenScenes, because you can just drag the bucket. Like I'm just holding the pen down on the canvas and just dragging it. Like it's so good. And it has no edges, depending on the brush you use. And yeah, just absolutely lovely. Well, you can see that it does struggle to fill in some gaps. Like there are some white parts to it. But to be honest, you can just kind of go in with a brush and touch those up. You don't have to do it. You'll do it yourself. So, I think my computer's now ahead of the... What I'm watching is ahead of what you're seeing. I believe the last part is the animation. So at the end of this, I'll actually play the animation a couple of times. This has been day 3. I really enjoyed day 3. I think this was one of the better ones. I think tomorrow is the dialogue animation, and I think I got it from Brave Little Tailor, but I didn't use Brave Little Tailor more, so interesting though. And this goes up to 29.47. But overall, I really enjoyed this today. I think looking at it, because I'm sort of paused on the last frame for myself, the head is a bit too small, the arms are a bit too long. I think the feet and body are okay, but I think I kind of made his, yeah, I sort of made the key proportions I was meant to be focusing on a bit too small. Because the face says it all, but I didn't say anything with it. My bad. So we should be, okay. So, yeah. Also, yeah, I did have a nice expression change with this. The take was alright. But anyway, thank you for watching today's episode. It's actually a lot of fun to do this one, and I really enjoyed the outcome. Even though it's not perfect, but you know, I don't think in the art world you ever get perfect. You know, people always have differing opinions. So I really enjoyed this, and I'm excited to show you what tomorrow is about. So, yeah, enjoy the animation. Bye.